Tech Yeah Podcast.
That's pretty good. What episode are we? Is this 23?
24, I think.
24?
Is it 20? I think it's
This is
24.
The Jack Bauer episode?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Right? Or we might be off one.
Hold on.
I think it's 24.
it might be 23. I'm going to check Spotify. Hold on. It might start playing music right now. If it does, don't sue us.
Whoever you are.
Also, this isn't on my list of stories, but there's a whole other thing about the UK suing for memes.
What?
So they want to like expand their copyright law
Yeah.
so that like anything. This is 23. So we're one away from the Jack
Okay.
Bauer episode.
Okay.
We'll do something special for Jack Bauer
Yeah.
next episode.
I love it.
Um,
So what they want to copyright memes or not, they don't want to. They want
they basically want to copyright, like, they want to expand their protection for all copyrighted imagery and phrases so that, like, because, every meme at its core is a copyrighted image. Like if it's a picture of SpongeBob, like Nickelodeon owns SpongeBob.
Yeah.
So you can't have SpongeBob in a meme, right?
Right.
And
To use commercially.
Yeah, well, no at all. So what they're saying is that YouTube or Instagram would be liable for any content using copyrighted content on their platform. So YouTube would be the one in violation of the law. So they would sue YouTube, not the end user, right?
I went through this a couple times with.
It's funny because we haven't even started the show yet. Like, I just brought it up because I don't even know what we were talking about.
Yeah, no, this is very interesting because, working for corporations in email and digital marketing, where we try to be, funny, relevant, clicky, and whatever. It's very tempting, and I've looked into the legality of using memes as a corporate entity, and even if it's like the SpongeBob one or Spider-Man, those type of ones, you could just kind of guess that, as a corporate entity, you shouldn't use it.
Yeah.
But what about like image macros or, something that is not your intellectual property? It's not technically a fair use image. It's not like a stock image. You could kind of make your own if you've purchased, from like iStock, and like make up your own. But some of the more popular ones is very, very fuzzy on what you can use and what you can't use commercially.
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to. And by the way, guys, this is Tech Yeah episode 23.
Oh, yeah, hello.
This is Bill.
Welcome to Tech Yeah.
We kind of just shot off on this, so I apologize.
Let's just jump into it.
Yeah, we're just jumping right into the technology today. And it's actually, I don't even have any, like, I didn't prepare for this topic. I literally just heard something about it yesterday. So I apologize if I say anything incorrect. But it seems like really what they're... So it's in the EU, and they're saying they're doing it to stop giant, like YouTube's, basically to stop Silicon Valley companies from controlling all content by making it unsustainable for them to, kind of have this free, like, kind of this anything goes content stream, But the issue really turns into, well, by doing that, you make it so only YouTube has the resources to vet content and get this type of content approved, right? Really, you stop anybody from, like, no one else can now compete in that space because no one has the man hours or the money to ensure that anything posted on their platform is free and clear of this, right? It's content polices out small creators from being able to freely post because no one's, if I post a YouTube video that gets 14 views, like, I'm happy I got to post that video, but no one that runs a content company is going to want to go through and filter my content for me and ensure that it's within spec because there's not enough profitability in that content to make it worthwhile.
Yeah, and just because YouTube or Instagram or whoever is going to be the liable party, that just means that it's going to trickle down. I mean, YouTube's not going to be like, oh, someone else posted a SpongeBob meme, and I guess we're going to lose this lawsuit again. Like, they're going to change their terms, and they're going to make it, that not allowed.
Yeah, I see if that happens. I mean, what they're saying is they just wouldn't release that content to Europe, but I think what would really happen is that they would, you would then have to seek approval as a content creator. You know what I mean? You'd have to... be like a pre-designated, like allowed to upload person. It wouldn't be free to everybody.
Yeah.
You know, and those people would then file, like, sign some contract with YouTube saying, you know, now vis-a-vis we're liable for this, and you know the $50,000 fine is on us if we, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I can see this being argued for fair use though, because you are taking someone else's content but altering it to make your own commentary, which is very similar to reaction videos.
Yeah, but this isn't fair. I mean, it doesn't matter because this is Europe. You know what I mean? They don't have fair use.
Right, I know, but correct. I'm looking at it from coming over here, which it inevitably will, and one of my stories kind of connects to stuff that Europe is doing regarding data and, you know, online things that we're for sure behind on.
Well, it's interesting. It's still unfolding. So no, everyone, keep your pants on. You got some time before this kind of thing becomes law, and it very well might not become law. So,
and if it does over there, doesn't mean that it won't here,
Europe
or that
sucks.
it will here.
Europe sucks anyway.
Yeah.
All right. So, you know, if you want to eat some schnitzel and I don't know, some spaghetti, then and not have sick memes, then good for you. That's what I say.
Yeah.
Bill, how you doing? How's your week?
The week has been going very well. I went up on had a very aviation Saturday.
I believe it.
Went to kind of an air show in the morning, and then went up with a friend in a Bonanza, which is
a banana.
It's the best general aviation plane ever built.
The name is really bad.
Beechcraft Bonanza.
Yeah, it's really bad.
That's the best name ever.
It sounds like one of those tiki bars that would be like, you know, at a vacation, like in Cabo, you know. Come to Beechcraft Bonanza for 2-for-1 margaritas and free fish tacos.
I would go in a heartbeat.
I would definitely go there because that's my style. I don't know if I'd fly with them though.
You would want to fly in this airplane.
It looked I saw a photo. It looked really nice.
200 mile an hour, 6 passenger. I mean, this thing is a beast. So we did a little flight from John Wayne. We flew around Santiago Peak, which is just a little mountain, 5,500 foot mountain in Orange County, and then flew up the coast.
They should call that plane the Mile High Club.
It is very mile high.
Because that is...
I
looked at that plane and I was like, this is like... It looks like the Bang Bus in here.
There's
like,
a ton of room
wide
in the back.
open and like giant seats. It's so like plush and comfortable looking inside that it's like, oh, like...
It really is. It's just like it's a Cadillac Escalade of airplanes. So I had my iPad with that app ForeFlight that I've talked about recording the flight. So it made like a nice little 3D trace of our route.
This is the part people don't care about.
This is where Tony tunes out. But listen to this.
No, I think everyone likes the part about,
banging in the back of a plane.
Banging in the back, sweet airplane. This thing is dope.
Right,
it's when you start talking about these like, oh, and I'm your maps. It's whenever you bring up a map, I think is when I'm just like,
when you tune out. But listen to this. Tell me this isn't cool.
Okay, I'm listening.
All right, so we do the flight. We do our little route. I have the ForeFlight app record the altitude and the location. So you've got like this 3D version on Google Earth of the flight. Mm-hmm. I load up X-Plane after the fact on Monday.
That sounds cool already.
I debrief the flight and I try to replicate the route. I go, okay, well, we flew over here and we were at this altitude, and then we came down over here, and then we flew over here and looped back around and landed. I was able to record it with its integration with X-Plane and upload both to Google Earth, and you can see the overlapping and how close you're able to get both flights. One in the sim, one in real world, both on Google Earth, both 3D.
That sounds lame.
How was your week, Tony?
Super lame. My week was good. I ate a lot this weekend. Like, it was a food bonanza. Cause
a food bonanza, huh?
Yeah. Bonanzas are good for food. I went with the kids on your team to K Barbecue on Friday.
Yeah.
That's Korean barbecue for all you non-LA folks out there. And that's where they give you plates of meat and you just cook them on your table. Pretty delish. Pretty good stuff, that Korean barbecue. And then Saturday I went to Orange County and met some friends at this Japanese restaurant. And it was really good. It was super bomb. Sunday I just tried not to die from eating, all the food that was in my belly. And it was pretty nice. It was a nice weekend. I played a lot of video games. I played this game Anthem that's really bad. We're not going to get into that here. But yeah, kind of did a lot of that. I had a technical hiccup. Well, what day was it? Monday, trying to install an SSD in my computer. I guess this is the place to talk about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I had the same, similar, well, not similar issue, but I did have an issue with that.
It's funny because we're on the show and we talk about PC hardware, and I work at this company and we talk about PC hardware, and everyone's like, oh, we need to make more PC hardware videos. I hate PC hardware. Like, I really do. Whenever they want me to do build videos, I'm like, please anything but this. Like, I don't want to build computers. I don't like it. I do it as a necessity, not as it doesn't give me any pleasure. And so of course I had bought a new SSD. It was on sale on Newegg.com, $57.99 for 500 gig WD Blue. Check it out. Email savings.
Damn, great deal.
Great deals on the .com. But
I just saw a deal for the same SSD that I got, the 1 terabyte M.2, and it was cheaper than what I got it for.
Yeah, the prices for SSDs are plummeting, which is great for consumers.
Yeah.
But so I took this SSD home, and I had extra SATA ports, so I just kind of plugged it into one and was like, let's hope for the best. Plugged it all in, booted it up, and immediately my computer will not boot. I was like, oh man, like I just plugged this thing in. It started taking like 5 minutes to post. Post is when it does that single beep at the beginning. It's like beep. That's supposed to let you know everything's okay. So it would post, but it would post super slow, like 5 minutes, like very slow. Like I would leave the room and come back and it would finally post. So like getting into the BIOS took 5 minutes or whatever, and it wasn't recognizing the drive. So whatever. I left it plugged in. I got into Windows finally, and it saw the drive, but it couldn't format it or anything. So I was like, okay, this seems like a bad drive, but let's keep at this. So then I unplugged my system SSD, which is a small 120. I was probably going to get rid of it anyway, but whatever. I unplugged it. I plugged in the WD, and I couldn't get into Windows, right, because Windows wasn't installed. But I put the installation USB in, and it wouldn't install on the SSD still. It was giving me a drive error. I'm like, maybe this drive's just bad.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is possible. I think a lot of people that buy PC hardware don't realize
it could just be bad.
It could just be a bad unit, like whatever it is, like SSD, CPU, GPU. Sometimes they just get bricked.
Yeah. So I one last try, I unplug everything, and only have the SSD plugged in, and Windows installs perfectly.
Quirky.
Yeah, it just makes me so. I don't understand why everything like.
It seems like that should be easier.
It should. I mean, and it is usually. Like, I don't know how. I have very common hardware. That's what, it's weird. Like, I always think, like, back in the day when I built computers, and you're buying these like weird off-brand motherboards and processors, and like I get it, but this is like mainstream motherboard, processor, GPU, memory. Like, everything is pretty good, big brands, and it's just like, why is it always so quirky? Like,
but storage, I mean, like, even if you have an off-brand storage, I mean, you're essentially plugging in a big thumb drive in the back.
Yeah, like, what? That's what I don't mean.
I don't get it. So when I installed it, the last time I installed an SSD was a SATA one, and I wanted to make that the boot drive, so I had to do the whole, like, copy everything over, and I had my hard drive as my backup storage, and I wanted to move everything to that 500 gig, that same WD Blue. And so there's a lot more to do to mirror a drive. But if you're just adding another drive, it should be you plug it in and that's it.
Yeah, it should just be the easiest thing.
Because I plugged it in. It was an M.2, so there's no power cables or anything. So I installed it with the tower upright, which was stupid. So I was like fumbling around with the little set screw. Booted it up, and it wasn't recognizing it, and I forgot. I was like, oh yeah, I got to go into like disk management and right click and format and
initialize it and format it.
Yeah, I'm like, what? Why do you have to do that? Why is it not just it's a power drive? It's obviously there because it recognizes in disk management. Why is it not just, hey, we recognize you got a new drive. What letter do you want to make it?
Yeah.
It doesn't do that.
No.
It's crazy to me.
Computers are stupid. I'm all PlayStation now.
Dope.
Yeah, all
Awesome.
about the PlayStation.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that was my week. I eventually, luckily, I got it all working. Life is good.
Cool.
It's funny. The Samsung I pulled out is 6 years old. So I was like, wow, that's an old SSD. It's like an 830 Evo or something.
Jeez.
I didn't even know these numbers existed. So yeah. That's it for the weeks. Now it's time for the
meat of tech. Yeah.
the
What you
news.
guys all come here for
Yeah.
is hard-hitting news stories and the expert analysis.
Yeah, that's what they come here for.
Right?
And I know we cheated and did a news story first, but
Yeah. That was a good,
this is
that
the
was a good
real
one, yeah.
news. This is news you can use when you cruise to work.
It's not going to be as interesting as me flying in a Bonanza at sunset, but it'll be interesting.
I drove an autonomous delivery truck from 1,200 miles away. This is from Billy Steele at Engadget.
Oh, Bill Steele, huh?
With all the talk of 5G phones at MWC this week, it's easy to forget about the practical uses for the public, enterprise, and more. Sorry, I just scratched my eyebrow. Applications across a range of industries are on display in Barcelona, and one of the most interesting is from Enride. The Swedish company has already made headlines for its T-Pod autonomous and all-electric delivery truck. Enride later revealed the T-Log, a version of the T-Pod, but as the name suggests, a model designed for logging. Here in Barcelona, the company is showing off a new setup for the first time, a system that allows someone to operate a T-Pod truck remotely over 5G, and in this particular case, from over 1,000 miles away. So it's basically it looks like a racing seat, like a Forza setup,
Yeah.
right? But it's real pictures, which Forza looks pretty real too. And in this one, they were driving a truck in a park, an obstacle course in a parking lot.
Mm-hmm. And he had a VR headset on.
No, it was just like a flight
Oh, it was
sim,
just a monitor.
Probably 6 monitors.
Okay.
So he had the angled and the 2 face monitors.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. I was listening to a story last week, or actually on Rogan. I can't remember the guy's name. Something Wang. The guy that's running for president right now. His big thing is universal basic income. Well, I don't want to get into that, but he was talking about autonomous truck driving, and kind of mentioned this as well, that autonomous trucks can drive the Midwest and can drive highways like crazy. But this, I forget what they call it in trucking. It's that last, the last few miles are always the technical part of truck driving. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. 90-degree turns and backing into the spot and all that stuff. Yeah.
A lot of trucking really works in a way where a lot of these long haul shipments are actually dropped off, and then a different company will handle the local delivery side of it, because it's so slow and time consuming. Right. It's a different style of trucking than driving across the country.
Yeah.
So
it's like ships. Like you have a harbor master board your ship and dock it because he's familiar with the harbor and
and that's all he does, right? It's
that's the only thing he does.
Make sure ships can make it in safe. If every general captain had to learn how to park at every port, ships would never get.
No,
they'd be crashing,
sinking all over the place.
Sinking all over the place. Yeah. So it's a lot of that, and the idea here is a lot like the Air Force with drones, being able to have one person sit at a station and just one truck down, switch to the next one, one truck down, switch to the next one, and be able to deal with kind of the unique situations involved with each truck.
Yeah. My dad did some work for the Air Force up at Beale Air Force Base in Sacramento, and the colonel was giving him a tour of the facilities, and there was out in this field next to the runway were like eight or so container looking things with antennas, and he was like, what the hell's that? He goes, oh, those guys are drone pilots piloting drones in the Middle East. In Sacramento. They're just sitting in this little, it's a container, like a long haul trucking container.
Yeah.
Sitting in there with a joystick controlling the drone from across the other side of the world.
Yeah, it's crazy, but it's like, with technology, the T word,
the big T,
we're able to put people in places and that's safer for them. it's safer for kind of everyone involved, and it allows them to kind of accomplish tasks that, you know, it would be hard to get skilled people in these positions all the time.
Yeah, it should be cheaper.
It should be.
It should be a lot cheaper, which is going to help the consumer. And, you know, companies are going to invest more in this because, you know, the cheaper that they can ship products, the more margin they're going to have, the more room they're going to have to lower prices, be more competitive. Like, we're going to be the benefits of this because still most everything, I mean, I don't want to say 100%, but it's pretty close to 100% of every consumer good that we, you know, use every day has been on a truck at one point.
Yeah, absolutely. If not, yeah, I mean, yeah, they all have.
I can't think of anything that has not. Building materials for your house, food, the car you drive, you know, the furniture you're sitting on, like everything was brought in by
the sweet nunchucks I ordered from China.
Semi-truck, all trucks.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty crazy. It's interesting to see where this is going to go. They're thinking over the
local flowers, produce, local produce at your little like Saturday morning farmer's market.
You use a lot of that? When's the last time you went to the farmer's market?
Almost every other week.
Okay.
We go quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm just.
But
saying.
that's the only thing that's the only thing.
Even that's like a niche thing that where it's like
very niche. Yeah,
you know, we bring home some stuff and we eat a nice, you know, some nice veggies for a couple days, and then that's over. Yeah, and we're back to things that came on trucks.
Because I know as soon as you say that every single thing's been on a truck, you'd be like, well, not the thing that you got at the farmer's market.
I only eat humane food, source to table food. Okay.
Email us at techyapodcast@gmail.com with your answers to what is not on a truck, what hasn't been on a truck ever.
Yeah, and if you only eat farm to table and none of your food's ever on a truck, and email us and tell us about how miserable your life is.
And then come over here and let's arm wrestle.
Yeah. Yeah. Try some beef jerky every once in a while. Jerk. So, okay. I don't want to get hung up. I don't want to get hung up too long. What's your next story, Bill?
All right.
I kind of want to zoom through these. I feel like we sometimes linger a little too long.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We got the story out. It's exciting.
I like it. Yeah. I mean, I think we can take it story by story basis. This one, I hope we'll just let this play out. However,
this is the big. You're opening with the big one?
No, but this is it's a segue.
He's opening with the big one.
Okay, so this was last week, probably 2 weeks ago by the time you hear this. Google's Nest Security Hub, the Nest Guard, had a microphone, but you wouldn't have known that from the specs or from the company itself. And this is an article from CNET. That became apparent after February 4th when Google announced that its voice assistant would be coming to Nest Source, which, you know, if you had bought a Nest Source and you're thinking, okay, well, now it's a smart speaker, how is that possible? The microphone has never been listed on Nest's technical specifications and was not publicized from Google. In a statement first reported by Business Insider, Google said the omission was a mistake. This is a quote from a Google spokesperson. The on-device microphone was never intended to be a secret and should have been listed in the specs. That was an error on our part. The microphone has never been on and is only activated when users specifically enable the option. If you believe that sentence, that series of sentences, I've got some...
yeah, that's straight bullshit.
That's straight bullshit.
I mean, whatever, but it's straight bullshit. Like, whatever. I don't think that the Nest particularly is, even the camera or the microphone was nefarious per se, only because they've already got enough microphones in your house that they don't need the Nest one to
Not really. No, you're right.
To hear the secrets, right? They're learning far more from your Gmail and your phone than they need to from the Nest.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just think that the mic wasn't ready. You know, whatever this the smart home version they're doing right now wasn't prepared, and you know, why tell people about a mic when it's just going to make them nervous? You know,
that's
what I
mean? What I think too. That's exactly what I was going to say. Is that if you say there's a microphone but there's no use of it, why is it there? Like that's creepy.
Yeah.
That's a fishy tactic. So
it's like if you're behind a pretty girl at your office on the way home from work, you don't tell her that you were behind her on the freeway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even if it's just a coincidence.
Yeah.
It's like that's something you should just keep to yourself and hope it doesn't come up in conversation.
Right.
It's like why prove to the world that you're a creep?
Yeah. Unless she's like, "Hey, were you following me the other day?" And you'd be like, "Oh yeah, well I go home that way anyway." And I was like, "Well, why didn't you mention that before?" Well, I didn't want to come off creepy.
Yeah, that's kind of where we're at with the Nest, right?
Yeah.
It's like, did you have a microphone in this the whole time? And they're like, well, yeah, but
we didn't use it.
We didn't really have a use for it, so we just didn't.
Which,
we don't want
dude, like, come on.
We don't want to come off creepy.
Dude, come on, Google. Do you honestly believe that you think we believe that you didn't use that microphone ever? That you had that microphone in there and you could have used it at any time and never did.
That's why I just wish they like used like real talk, right? I wish Google, like when this came out, were just like, yeah, there's a camera in there. To be honest, we don't really need it. Like we get our information from your phones and your emails. We just thought we might want to use it later. If they said that, I think people would just be like, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
But when they're like, we had, this was just an oversight. Like,
we're sorry.
We meant to be publishing this the whole time. We're very sorry.
We're only one of the 4 biggest companies in the history of this planet.
Yeah.
And pretty much couldn't. I mean, we're in the business of not making mistakes. You think that Google had that big of an oversight? Like, dude, come on. The omission will strike some people as a privacy concern, given that the microphone has been on Nest's home security hub since 2017. They've had it for 2 years and we just didn't use it out of the goodness of our hearts. Google has also been in hot water over privacy issues, for instance, facing a $57 million fine in Europe for violating the European Union's General Data Protection Regulation. So Nest has suffered other privacy controversies recently. Last month, a hacker infiltrated the Nest Cam security camera of a San Francisco Bay Area family by using a password obtained from a third-party breach. The hacker convinced the family that the U.S. was under nuclear attack from Korea. In December, another hacker took over the camera of a man in Arizona to warn him of security vulnerabilities. In another case that month, a hacker told a couple through the device that he'd kidnapped their child. While Nest Systems weren't breached in any of those incidents, they raised concerns for consumers. Last month, Nest general manager, sent an email to customers reminding them of good cybersecurity habits. That was nice of them.
Yeah, those stories, I kind of blame the users for all those. I mean, because they're not changing their passwords. Like, that's plain and simple password loss. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like it was some vulnerability in the software.
No, yeah. I mean, I think the point of the story is just that there's been some heightened concern over
and
the security of these.
And none of these hackers said send nudes, so they're really not good.
Not legit hackers.
They're not legit hackers at all. They're not 4chan hackers. Yeah. These are some amateurs, probably neighborhood kids.
So I've been very much in the look, they know enough about me and I'm just a number. So what does it really matter?
Mm-hmm.
I've kind of hedged towards that a little bit. Like I don't go too crazy. I mean, I use Google stuff. I partake in Facebook every once in a while. I mean,
it's not weed, bro. It's just
it's kind of a drug.
I guess it's kind of a drug.
So I've kind of not been in that like aluminum hat wearing crowd of wanting to live in the woods and, Ron Swanson it and be completely off the grid because I know that there's a lot of information out there. But recently I heard, I can get his last name, but he's referred to as Craig, the healthcare guru. Mm-hmm. And he's a healthcare lawyer based up in Northern California. And his business is consulting with medium-sized companies on healthcare.
Oh, did you reference that last story? I'm sorry, before we move on.
Did I reference it?
I don't know. Where'd you see
CNET, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll make sure so we don't,
Yeah.
People write these things. We should give them a little credit.
Yeah. So his business is based around helping companies navigate, all the just jungle of health insurance stuff out there to get the best deal, the best coverage for their employees and whatnot. But he's very, very, as you can imagine, connected with all of the insurance company, with all of the laws around health insurance.
Yes.
So the Affordable Care Act being a big one, and a lot of companies needed consultation when that law was enacted. It was a mess.
Yeah, it was a mess.
It was a mess. So they needed legal counsel. He was an expert at it. So what's happening now is pretty messed up and has been flying under the radar for a very long time. The health insurance industry is trillions of dollars.
Yeah, gajillions.
It's huge. It's one of the biggest single industries in the world. So what Europe is doing right now is they're suing everybody. They're trying to pass laws to give consumers ownership of their data, which to me again has always sounded kind of like whatever. Like if companies are using that data to help give me relevant advertising,
yeah,
I'm totally cool with that. Like I don't want to be sent crappy ads for feminine products and crap that I don't need. I want some relevancy in that.
Relevance, not relevance.
Relevance, yeah.
Roasted.
So
got him.
So what's happening is these big data companies are selling the data to insurance companies. One of the big ones is LexisNexis.
LexisNexis?
Yeah.
What's that?
It's a data.
Oh, it's a big data.
It's a data company, data mining company, and you have all these advertisers. You got Google, you got Facebook that have their own data that they're collecting. But what happens is big companies like LexisNexis will go out and they will buy up data from all these different sources, whether it's Google or Facebook or banks, Twitter.
Yeah.
I mean, just like any place that collects data, they gather all of that into one big stockpile and they put that up for sale. Now, again, that might not sound like it's really that damaging if all you're really getting is targeted ads. But what insurance companies are doing is they are not taking advantage of, but they're working around the Affordable Care Act's pre-existing conditions ruling to save their revenue, basically. So just from a very high level, if in the past, if you had diabetes or you had throat cancer, it would be either really expensive or impossible to get health insurance.
Yeah, don't insure you.
Right? Which really sucks if you're one of those people.
Yeah.
Big time, right? But these are private companies. Insurance companies are private entities, and I mean, if you rear-ended somebody on the road and then went to go get car insurance, they'd just be like, "What the hell, dude?"
Yeah, we don't have to dive into the ethics of insurance,
right? But it's correct. So since the Affordable Care Act basically said you can't deny anyone coverage for a pre-existing condition. What the insurance companies are doing now is they are purchasing individual level data from companies like LexisNexis, which you can go on their website and you can download your data. And this guy, Craig, the health insurance guru, one of his clients said this was an individual person at one of these companies had 185 pages of data on them.
I believe it.
So these health insurance companies are buying data from an individual level and based on anything but pre-existing health conditions, giving you a premium price. So if you're a female and they have data that says that you've bought extra large clothing, they will up your rates because heavier women have a higher degree of depression.
Or you're sexually active.
Yeah, and mental health is really expensive.
Or you searched for
and this
drug
was
paraphernalia.
Yeah. And this is some of this is from a PBS NewsHour article by Marshall Allen from a year ago, like a 6 months ago. And that was one of the examples. So anything that you do, are you a minority in a low income neighborhood? That means that you're have increased health risks. If you watch a lot of TV, if you go to the movies a lot,
So you bought cigarettes with your credit card.
you bought cigarettes, you tweeted about going skydiving that weekend. Any of these things,
You fly airplanes.
you fly airplanes. Any of these things that are potential indicators of a health risk will be used to increase your insurance costs instead of actual health issues.
Insurance companies are the worst.
So, yeah. Well, but the law, but by omitting these pre-existing conditions, now if you're just, whatever, if you bought cigarettes for a friend and, or you're, there's a million things that you can think of that, you were sick for a week and you watched a bunch of TV and now the health insurance, and these are pretty specific examples, but just to make a point, you could be charged more for health insurance based on things that do not apply to you. Where people that do have diabetes are probably going to be paying less, and you're going to be footing a portion of that bill just because a pre-existing condition health-wise is not admissible for healthcare insurance companies to base your premium off of.
Yeah, and I think I think we will personally disagree a lot on healthcare and how it should be funded in this country because, I think insurance companies are just the worst. I think the fact that we have a multi-trillion-dollar industry whose only job is facilitating the payment of healthcare is, it's criminal, and it's the reason for, the ballooning cost of healthcare in this country. The fact that there's a middleman that needs to have, exorbitant profits simply for funding the payment processing. You know what I mean? For being, we'll cover the bill. You just pay us your monthly. Like that idea it's broken, and it's a broken system that we've continued to participate in for far too long, right?
There's something like 17 bureaucrats per doctor now.
Yeah, it's crazy, and
for every one doctor, there's 17 paper pushers.
Yeah, it's crazy on a level that is just unbelievable. I understand, I'd have a lot more understanding for this, and believe me, I'm as libertarian as they come. I think that there is a free market way that healthcare could have operated or could operate in this country, but we've abandoned that. We have developed the most insidious and profit-driven, aggressive, corrupt, and angry healthcare system possible. Somehow we've got the worst of both worlds.
I think because there's been so much regulation from the government that the healthcare companies, in order to stay profitable, have had to resort to being that kind of ugly profit-driven mentality. They're private companies, they should be making a profit, and they shouldn't be vilified for doing that. But the government has made it so hard for them to do that they've had to resort to buying your personal data and raising your premiums because you like, Diet Coke.
Yeah, and I don't think it's just the government. I think it's the government and insurance companies that don't even provide healthcare. They only provide a middleman profit center for investors, in between that, separates a bridge between people and their healthcare, right? If you want your healthcare, well, here's your choices, and it's going to cost you this much, and we'll do the rest cloak and daggers, in a dark room, but we're going to get really rich in the process. I think I would, if we were still in a system where it's you either work out a deal where you're in the HMO, you pay Kaiser X amount a month and you get your healthcare through them, or you don't, you work through some private thing. But, now we're in the system where there's a million different styles of insurance. You really are kind of stuck with what your company provides, or, what's available to you at a reasonable, some kind of reasonable rate. It's funny on a lot of things. I think I am very libertarian and anti-government, and I feel like we've broken healthcare so far that it's one of the few things where I'm just like, I really don't care. I just know we need to do it differently. You know what I mean? Like,
I'll agree with you on that.
you know,
for sure.
if Bernie Sanders wants to take a shot, like, I'm willing to let him see if his idea will work, because the idea that we have, the system we've put in place, the style of healthcare we now have is not only bad, it's like aggressively mean-spirited. You know what I mean? It is not helpful. It is bad for our health. Our life expectancy is lowering in this country, right?
Yeah, but I think there's more at play than just healthcare.
Of course, but healthcare is part of it. You know what I mean? And you know, we don't care about people's mental health. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's just so many ways. I mean, that we could be helping people more. We could be taking better care of our citizens than, you know, there's a lot of things. You know, we want to talk about immigration. We want to talk about all these things. And I'm like, yeah, we need to cut back. We need to clean the system up. But, you know, healthcare is one of them where it's just like, you know, the only reason this big data company can steal this data and health and insurers can use this data in a predatory fashion against us is because we've allowed them to insert themselves in a place where they can control your access to healthcare through this funding source. You know what I mean? Where they get to be the judge, jury, and executioner and be like, well, nope, you bought extra flow tampons, so your shit's fucked up. That's $100 more. It's like, who gave you the right? You know what I mean? Like that's not private enterprise. Like, you don't have a choice. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but that's where, by removing the actual health portion of the decision making, they've pushed private companies to look at other ways to optimizing their. So they can't operate by people putting in less and taking out more.
But we can't operate in a system where you have diabetes, so all you can do is die. Right? Like that's also not tenable as a society. That's what I mean. It's aggressively mean. You know what I mean?
But that's not the case anymore, though.
Well, of course. What really happens is you have diabetes, you go to the hospital with no insurance, and we end up paying for it anyway. You know what I mean? That really is the case when there's no pre-existing condition coverage. When people are denied coverage for not having their pre-existing conditions, they don't just die in the streets. Like pre-Obama, people weren't just dying in the streets and being carted off the sidewalk, right?
No.
What was happening was they were still going to the hospital. They were using emergency rooms for all their care, and it was still ballooning in expense, right? We were still facing this situation where healthcare was crazy expensive, like it is now. It was the same problems we're now. That's what I mean. Like, pre-existing condition or not, we didn't solve anything. We're just finding different ways to give insurance companies money. That's why ACA is such a joke, right? That's why that's what makes me the most frustrated about when you hear, you know, Bernie Sanders talking about, you know, Medicare for all. It's like, Barack Obama was president. You guys had the power to make a change, and even you guys realized it was far too high a hill to climb and too impossible a task.
You can't
to separate insurance companies from this business.
Can't
you could, right? But you know, no one's brave enough to do it. No one wants.
But making the government control it is the absolute last thing that we got to do. That is the worst idea ever.
Well, I mean, what's the best? I mean,
pretend like you rolled your ankle and then try to get it treated at the DMV, and pretend the DMV is the doctor's office.
Well, you're still a choice. You could still have private insurance. That's what I mean. Like,
yeah, but like in a healthcare for all, like where it's all government stuff. Like, how's the VA going? How's that working?
There would still be private insurance, but that's what I mean. The VA. That's what I'm saying.
But doctors are going to stop practicing medicine because it's going to be, they're not going to make enough money to do it, to go through 8 years of schooling and go through all that debt.
It's already not enough money.
And doctors are already leaving.
Yeah.
So the lines are going to get longer. Everything's going to get more messed up. Companies are going to be losing money and trying to figure out more nefarious ways to make that up. Because
I don't see how it gets more messed up than the story you just told.
Oh, it gets way more messed up.
I mean, but that's what I mean. Like, it gets more messed up. Like, that's what you're like, oh, if the government had control, it would get
Canada
more.
healthcare is a disaster.
American healthcare is a disaster right now.
But
that's what I'm saying. Like,
true, but you can't. You can't say that it's not
a better disaster.
It's less of a disaster than Canada.
I don't know. It's more expensive And honestly, like I know plenty of Canadian people, and they're not like, this is a disaster.
They
Where I
come
know
down here for treatment all the time.
people with a bunch of money that want
They have
private coverage.
They have 6 months wait lists for like serious illnesses.
Yeah, and so have you seen a specialist lately? Like, I'll be.
Yeah, I'm not
Hand to-
saying it's not, but that argument.
Hand to God, I have private insurance. You know what I mean? I pay for our PPO coverage, and I still wait 3 to 6 months to see a specialist.
But that's not an argument saying like, well, it still takes long. It takes far less,
but that's what I'm saying.
The care is way better.
But that's what I'm saying. I don't know that it takes far less. I don't know that the care is way better. That's what I'm.
Then why do Canadians always come that can afford to do it come to the United States?
Because
for
if you've got
healthcare?
a bunch of money, nothing takes time in this country. You know what I mean? Like even on our insurance plan, because it's not the premium primo, you know, if you're part of the government or a super wealthy person insurance plan, you know what I mean? We wait just like some stupid Canadians, right? Whereas if we had a better plan and we're using better providers, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I got referred to a specialist in a high-end hospital here in Los Angeles County, and it's a completely different experience than all of my healthcare experience prior to that. You know what I mean? Because it's an ultra wealthy hospital. They had a concierge. You walk into the front desk and a lady walks with you everywhere you go in the hospital, right? Like she sits you down, she helps you with your paperwork, she takes you to all your appointments in the hospital. It was amazing. But it's like that's not the care that everyone gets on private insurance, right?
And it shouldn't be.
Of course not. Of course. I'm not saying it should be. What I'm saying is the care we traditionally get, is it really this far cry from what Canadians get?
Yes, it is. It is much better.
That's not what I've heard from Canadians.
Yeah, it is much better.
That's not
because I've heard the opposite.
I don't think it's good, but that's what I mean. I don't think ours is good, and ours is falling off a cliff.
I am not saying that ours is good.
Ours is falling off a cliff.
Yeah, it is getting better. It's going to get worse, and it could get way worse in 2 years. But the point is,
it's way worse than it was 10 years ago.
Well, I know, but we're going down the same road. We're going through more government than less government. There's always going to be companies that are just out to make a buck, and it's going to be at the expense of the consumers.
They all are.
But the problem is the gap between the. I mean, it's just
Why did
like
you bring this stupid story?
Because
it's all politics.
Because it's all
every time I'm like, stop bringing political stories, and every time he does.
But it's really interesting use of data that I was very blind to.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is, but I think it's, you know, I think when I see this, it's clearly a symptom of a system that is not only profit driven but mean spirited. You know what I mean? Like,
but it's mean spirited, but
no, it's because I get it. I get what ACA did to insurance companies. Like, I understand how it was I was not a supporter, and I'm not a supporter of the ACA. I don't think that's a good thing, right? Because you're saying insurance companies have done all this wrong and ballooned this cost, and then you're forcing people to pay them, right? Like, it's you're basically you're taking the butcher and being like, you murdered all these people, now you only murder people when we say you murder. You know what I mean? It's a backwards, illogical line of thinking, but and it creates an unsustainable situation for insurance companies, right? Like, I get that too, right? But the solution to that isn't that, like, we need to find ways for insurance companies to be profitable. We need to be done with insurance companies, right? Even if we provide healthcare, even if private HMOs provide direct to customer healthcare, fine, right? Fine. But having these completely for-profit middleman insurance companies is what is unsustainable in healthcare right now. It is driving up costs to hospitals because, you know what happens at hospitals. They don't get paid what they invoice. Insurance companies pay what they're willing to pay. So now invoiced amounts have to balloon so that the percentage they get from insurance companies adequately covers their costs, right? And, it just skyrockets and skyrockets. It's this rolling snowball of ballooning costs going downhill with like lawsuits and insurance company partial payouts and Medicare partial payouts. I mean, Medicare is doing the same thing. Like, the government is another shitty insurance company in this process. Don't get me wrong. Like, I don't think that they
are the shittiest insurance company.
I don't know that they're the shittiest insurance company. But
have you been to the DMV?
Yeah.
Have you seen what the VA does? When they get involved, they absolutely destroy everything they touch.
No, that's fine. But so do these insurance companies.
Correct. But the government is inserting themselves to increase everything. Like, the insurance companies are going to put their little buffer on the crappiness of it. They're going to increase the crappiness 15% or whatever it is.
No, they're going to increase the crappiness 10% every year because that's what companies do.
I just mean a non-specific overall crappiness-o-meter. The crappiness-o-meter.
And you know, like I do, growth has to be infinite in a company, right? Like, they have to grow 10% every year. A flat year for an insurance company is a failing year for an insurance company.
For any private company, correct.
That's what I'm saying, right?
Yep.
So it's like having your healthcare tied to these giant multi-trillion-dollar companies and their exponential growth. I don't care if private companies want to exponentially grow making fucking Iron Man movies. And I don't care if these companies want to exponentially grow in building cars or, you know, like, none of that stuff matters. But if you're going to tell people that they can't go to the doctor because we need to make 16% more this year to keep our investors happy, like, that is wrong. That's it. Like, that's just wrong. And I don't care what you say. That's wrong. That's it. And that's the situation we're in. And these companies do shitty things to, like, continue this process. And it's just not right.
Well, it's just, I mean, the tipping point is it a right or not? And it can't be a right because it's trickling down to people making a decision whether or not to be in that industry.
So that's fine. You can say that.
But then it goes away.
No, say that. That's fine. It's not a right to get treatment. Then you have to be willing to let people not get treated. And are you?
No,
of course you're not. So then we have to deal with it.
Right. That will be a never-ending debate, but
it's not.
There is a sweet spot because the government's going to insert themselves, and instead of it being up 10% every year, it's going to be up 25% every year.
We can't have it both ways. We can't tell people
correct
that it's not your right to see a doctor, but we're not willing to let you die in the street uncared for. So it sort of is your right to see a doctor, right? You know what I mean? I think at a base level, what we have to decide is, should people be allowed to see a doctor when they're sick or not? Right? Like, just at a base level. Because I think that's really the confusion, right? Is the idea is that, like, if you can't afford it, then, you know, some people just tough luck, right? That's the sad truth of the world, right? And that's fine. But no one is willing to do that. When a sick person comes to you, no one's willing to look up in the eye and be like, but you don't have money, so you die.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I think that is the heart of the exponential increase in the cost.
No, I don't. No, because the exponential increase in the cost we can see is people making trillions of dollars. Like, if insurance companies were going broke and hospitals were going broke, I'd be like, yeah, this is a fucking tough one, right? But when these companies make so much money for doing nothing but facilitating transactions, and people aren't getting coverage, it's really easy to see where the breakdown is.
Right, but it will eventually stop. It's going to it can't go on forever. So insurance companies are either going to go out of business.
Hopefully.
They're going to be regulated out of business. Mm-hmm. And then the healthcare industry will cease to exist.
It won't cease to exist.
Because no one can pay it. If there's no one there to pay it, then doctors will not exist. No one will go into med school. No, they won't.
Doctors exist in every country in the world.
That's fine. How many of them per person? How long are the lines? You want that 6-month waiting list to go to 2 years?
You're saying it won't exist. I'm saying it will exist.
It will practically not exist because if you can't find a doctor,
what I'm saying right now is, as a country, if we can't find a way to rectify our desire to not watch people die uncared for, and our desire to see a doctor in a timely manner, right? If we can't find a solution to both those things, then we're doomed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Then we're doomed.
Yeah.
Right? And
I'm afraid that the answer for it to be able to continue is if you can't afford it, you can't get health care.
Yeah, and I don't think that that's something that's not going to happen. It's never happened.
No.
It doesn't. It's just not going to happen.
I know, which is the really crappy part. If
Well,
you can't afford a car, you don't get a car.
Yeah, I mean, but that's not, that's different. That's very different.
Well, it's only different because
you don't die if you don't have a car.
Right. That's the only difference. It's still a product that you can or cannot afford.
I believe America is based on, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And I think part of that is at least getting a minimum level of care, right, when you are ill.
And that is probably the most rational way to state it.
Yeah.
There is a point, because if Magic Johnson was not a millionaire, he'd be dead.
Yeah. No, and I get that. Like, you don't get all the experimental crazy shit, maybe. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I mean. I see a place where, if you don't have money, then maybe
if you have a sinus infection and you need a thing, like, we have a base, but then, and this would all obviously be worked out, but how many trips to Hawaii did you take this year? What size is your TV? How many times did you go out, to dinner? It's like people just waste their freaking money and then want everyone else to pay for the stuff when they need it.
Yeah.
And they just piss it away.
No, I don't disagree. But I'm not really better.
I'm not saying that I'm better either. I'm just saying that, I don't expect somebody else to have to pay for my life choices just because I've decided to spend money on something else.
Well, yeah, you don't expect them to, but at some point they might have to, regardless of your choice. That's what I mean. Even if.
But whose fault is that? Whose responsibility is that?
But that's what I mean.
To pay for that.
It's a cultural. It's our responsibility as a society, because we live by the social contract that we want to provide other Americans, like this desire to make sure we provide other Americans this opportunity is what makes America an amazing place, and so you may say, like, I don't expect anyone to provide anything for me, but you know what, if you lose your job and your wife gets sick and she can't work, it's like, I don't care if you don't want help, we want to help you. You know what I mean? Like, yes. I don't care if your pride tells you that, I said I don't need anybody's help. I want America as a country to be able to be like, no, you're getting help because we want you here.
100%.
And we want you to be part of our team.
Correct. But what about, these people that they've got a new lease car every 2 years. They go to Hawaii on vacation. They've got a big screen TV. They go out to dinner, 3 times a week, and just piss money away.
Yeah, but you can level those criticisms. I mean, what level is the right level, right? Like, those are cultural conversations that I think we need to have as a whole, outside of how it relates to healthcare. How, you know what I mean? Like I think that we've been sold, not like, I'm not saying like nefariously or some conspiracy, but we as a people have been sold a lifestyle that is,
easy
and not sustainable, right? Like, it's like that old World War, weak generations make the whatever. Yeah,
I love that. I love that quote. Yeah,
weak
it's
men
like
make
strong people make for, or like tough times make strong people. Strong people make for good times. Good times make for weak people. Weak people make for bad times.
Yeah.
And it just keeps going over and over again.
And I think we're in a stage where we're very weak. We're very susceptible to kind of our whimsies. You know what I mean?
But that all this intelligence that we have, all the access to data that we have, that company has, takes manpower, intelligence, technology, which all costs money. So in order for us to get to that point where we can use data to make sure that the guy that did just buy a new car isn't getting, expensive cancer treatment for free, is weeded out.
But what about when they tell you can't get treatment because you learned to fly an airplane?
Well,
you know what I mean?
I know, but
I don't care. Like, I still want you on my team, so let's make sure he gets treatment.
But
that's what I'm saying.
But if I am not also saving money and also paying my insurance premiums and being on time with this stuff, and paying my taxes, that is a different story than someone that is going into debt, overspending, and using government subsidies to support that lifestyle.
Yeah, but like, I get what you're saying.
It's just irresponsibility.
I understand, and I understand what you're saying.
We're promoting irresponsibility.
But like this whole I don't think that's as big an issue as you think it is. And I do think that there's
a lot of people in debt, man.
There are, but it's not all extravagant welfare queens.
No,
you know what I
mean?
I'm
saying you have to take both. If you're giving people the support that are in hey, you lost your job and your wife gets sick. I mean, my wife got sick this past year and had very expensive surgery, and it was really, really, really bad. Mm-hmm. But we both were employed and everything. But for every situation like that happens, you who knows how many we have of the guy that's just sitting there eating Cheetos every night, smoking cigarettes, and going on vacation.
Why are you talking about me? Why you gotta make it personal?
It's going to continue to inflate the cost, because now we have we have 40% of those people, when really 15% of them are the ones that are responsible, that do really need the help.
I agree, but I think the work we do to minimize that isn't something you do at the end of a gun. It's something you do as people, through education, as people grow up, as we as a society teach each other to be better citizens. I think that's a possibility. It's a bigger concept, because I think that the real issue, with all of these things, with healthcare and I think this goes really big into education, is that, we just need to, if we were all better citizens, a lot of these things would just evaporate, right?
It would but that is where do you keep your herd of unicorns?
Exactly. But that's what I mean. I think you chip away at these things through, more funding and stronger education programs. Our schools are terrible.
Yep.
Right. And you can't blame money or Canada for that, because we spend a shitload of money, especially in LA.
Yeah.
Teachers just went on strike. We're we need more money. Money's not the problem.
Yeah. No.
With schools, right?
Yeah.
Money isn't the issue. And if we can't even figure out how to educate kids, for 8 hours or whatever, how many hours a day we're supposed to educate these kids, we can't even figure out how to get them butts in seats and make it a little bit entertaining. You know what I mean? These are bureaucratic problems. These aren't unsolvable mysteries.
But but I think a lot of these problems can be solved, and hopefully will be solved, by private corporate entities, just like that self-driving truck. That self-driving truck will save everybody money.
Yeah.
It will be safer. It'll be more efficient. But it takes a lot of research, a lot of testing, a lot of money to implement that. And the only way you're able to do any of those things is by having profit, by making money in order to fund those projects. So it has to make money. So if you're spending money and not bringing in enough money, there's going to be no room for innovation to help streamline that stuff.
Yeah, but if you privatize the education system, it's not necessarily going to. I mean, that's not going to fix it.
I'm not saying the education
colleges.
thing.
I mean, look at private colleges.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. That's not it's not you spend some money and now you have the answer, right?
No.
It's as swarmy a snake pit
for sure.
Any.
Yeah, I mean, it is all bred from competition and from being able to turn a profit, and a lot of that comes back to, in my opinion, the government making it so difficult for some of these industries to make a profit.
Holy shit! All right, we've gone too long. Finish your thought.
Well, they've made it so difficult for these private companies to make a profit that they have to resort to 185 pages of your private data to see how much they're going to charge you for insurance. And that makes you want to turn off your microphone on your iPhone and, delete your Gmail account and, handwrite letters to people now, which then takes data away from those companies, which makes it even more expensive and blah, 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 blah.
We're not going to solve this.
No. But I thought it was going back to the original point of the story is, I never thought
we got so in the stupid weeds.
I love it. But I never looked at the private data in that manner as a direct cost to me. The choices you make, the communication you have that you would think are private can affect how much you pay in insurance premiums and in other things too. I mean, it will trickle down to other industries as that data becomes easier to digest.
Okay. Sorry, I was looking at something. I'll cut this a little bit out. All right. Yeah. No, I think it was a good topic. We kind of went nuts on it.
That was freaking sweet.
What was I going to say? In closing, obviously, we're not going to solve this issue. This is the big issue. This isn't. I mean, healthcare and, kind of the bipartisan nature of big government versus small government are issues that will exist long after we're dead. You know what I mean? And I think we both agree that we just wish we could take better care of everyone.
I
know
wish
what I mean?
everybody could get the absolute best care that's possible. Not even that they can afford or whatever. Just that is possible.
Yeah. So, I mean, let's just close and say that even if either of us came off in a way that, I don't know, a lot of people probably think I'm an idiot after, you know what I mean? We're not geniuses. We're just people that are trying to be real for it. We're trying to be real and tell you what we think and have a conversation. Yeah. And real talk, me and Bill both really like each other a lot. So I hope if you disagree with someone that you can stop and be like, hey, but I really like you a lot.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just because you disagree with someone does not mean that they are evil.
Yeah, no. And with that, I think we're signing off. Make sure to reach out to us, techyeahpodcast@gmail.com. Tech Yeah Podcast on Twitter and Facebook.
Yeah, and check out the post-show vignette on youtube.com/techyeah.
That we might record tomorrow instead of today.
That we might do some other time.
All right,
or ever.
Bye.